The Space Academy was alive with movement. Ships from every corner of the galaxy had arrived, and the landing docks were filled with strange sounds, roaring engines hissing steam, and the rhythmic echo of boots on the shining metal floor. The Academy was not on Earth. It was built on a neutral moon, far away from human and alien homeworlds, so no one race would feel stronger than another. Here, for the very first time, humans and aliens would study together, side by side. Ethan Walker, a young cadet from Earth, pressed his hand against the wide glass wall of the docking bay and stared out. Stars hung in the distance like glitter scattered across black velvet. He had always dreamed of space, but the reality was overwhelming. Aliens of every kind filled the halls. Some had glowing eyes, others had scales that shimmered like gemstones, and some had skin painted with natural patterns that looked like living art. The air was filled with hundreds of voices, each speaking in strange accents or languages. Ethan felt very small. He was just a boy from a quiet town on Earth. His parents had been proud when he was accepted into the academy, but he often wondered if he truly belonged here. Among all these powerful alien heirs and royal students, he was only human. He was still thinking about this when the great doors of the main hall slid open. A hush swept through the room like a sudden wind. Everyone turned. First came the guards, tall figures clad in golden armor, each holding a glowing spear. They moved in perfect rhythm, their steps echoing through the silence. Behind them, like the rising of a star, came a girl who instantly stole the air from the room. She was unlike anyone Ethan had ever seen. Her long silver-white hair shone like silk, catching the light with every step. Her eyes glowed violet, with tiny specks of gold swirling inside them, as if pieces of the cosmos lived there. Her skin was smooth, flawless, and pale like the surface of a pearl. She wore a gown that shimmered with light, each thread sparkling faintly, as though the dress had been stitched from fragments of the night sky. She was Princess Arya of the Lemurian Empire. Her people were one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. She was the daughter of a queen, a girl who carried centuries of pride and authority in her very walk. Even among so many alien nobles, she stood apart like a flame in the dark. Students bowed as she passed, lowering their eyes in respect. Even those who hated the Lemurians dared not stand tall. But Ethan, frozen in place, didn't move. His body refused to bow. His eyes stayed locked on her. And then, before he even realized what he was doing, he spoke. "Hello, Cutie." The words slipped out in a casual, almost playful tone, but the effect was like thunder. The guards froze. Their hands tightened on their spears. A gasp rose from the crowd. A human boy had just called the alien princess Cutie. Princess Arya stopped walking. For a heartbeat, she did not move. Her violet eyes flickered toward Ethan. Her perfect lips parted slightly in surprise. And then, something no one had ever seen before happened. Her cheeks turned pink. The great princess of the Lemurian Empire was blushing. A ripple of shock spread through the hall. "Did you see that?" someone whispered. "She's blushing." No one has ever spoken to her like that. Ethan's heart pounded so loudly he could hear it in his ears. What had he just done? He expected the guard to seize him, to drag him out, maybe even worse. But instead, the princess quickly turned her gaze away, as if trying to hide her reaction. Her steps faltered only for a second before she continued walking with her guards. But the damage was done. She had blushed, and everyone had seen it. By the next day, the story had spread across the academy like wildfire. In the cafeterias, in the training grounds, in the classrooms, everyone was whispering about the same thing. The human made her blush. Impossible. She doesn't even show emotion. He called her Cutie. Who does that? Some laughed at Ethan. Some envied him. Some warned him he had made a dangerous mistake. But all of them kept watching him now. He had become the boy who dared to speak to the untouchable princess. Ethan tried to keep his head down. He avoided groups and walked the quieter paths between buildings. Still, he felt eyes on him wherever he went. And deep inside, he could not forget that moment. The way her violet eyes widened, the way her face turned warm pink, the way her steps faltered. He had touched something in her, something no one else had reached. That evening, when the suns of the moon began to set, Ethan wandered through the Academy's outer gardens. Strange flowers glowed in soft colors under the fading light. Fountains whispered with flowing water. It was one of the few places where he felt calm. And then he saw her. Princess Arya stood by the fountain, her silver hair flowing like liquid moonlight. She was alone, her guards waiting at a distance. She touched the water's surface lightly, her expression calm but far away, as though she was lost in thought. Ethan froze. His body told him to turn back. His mind screamed to walk away. But before he could, she lifted her head, and her eyes found him. For just a moment, the world seemed to pause. Her violet eyes softened. Her cheeks turned the faintest shade of pink. She remembered him. Ethan's throat went dry. He knew he should say nothing. He knew he should bow and leave quietly. But his lips moved on their own, just as before. "Hey, cutie." This time, her lips curved into a small, gentle smile. And that smile, unexpected, fragile, but real, was the beginning of something greater than either of them could imagine. The walls between species, between royalty and commoner, between human and alien, had cracked, all because of two simple words. And the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The Academy did not forget what happened. Students still whisper about the moment when Princess Arya blushed. Some spoke with disbelief, others with envy, a few even with anger. But no one dared approach her and ask directly. The Lemurian Empire was feared by many, and no one wanted to risk insulting their princess. Except Ethan. He did not plan to risk anything. He had not even planned to speak the words in the first place. But now it was too late. His mouth had started something his brain could not stop. And when he saw her smile by the fountain, something inside him changed. It was small, but it was powerful. That smile told him that she was not just a princess. She was a person. She could feel shy. She could blush. She could laugh. She could notice him. The next day in class, Ethan sat quietly near the back. Holograms floated above the desks, showing maps of ancient battles fought between alien fleets. The instructor, a tall, bird-like creature with feathers that glowed faint blue, spoke about strategies and honor. But Ethan's eyes kept drifting. Princess Arya sat in the front row. Her posture was straight, her hands folded neatly, her violet eyes sharp with focus. She looked every bit the perfect royal student. But every now and then, she turned her head slightly, just a glance, just for a second, toward him, and Ethan felt his chest tighten every single time. During training, things grew more dangerous. The Academy prided itself on harsh exercises. Students were not only meant to learn, but also to prove their strength. In the combat arena, different species sparred against each other. Some used energy staffs, some used claws, and some used raw strength. Humans were considered weak here, too soft and too slow. Ethan had already been knocked down twice in front of others. When his name was called again, groans echoed in the crowd. The human boy, they muttered, he will lose again. But this time, Princess Arya was in the stands. Her violet eyes watched from above. Ethan felt his blood rush. He did not want to look like a fool in front of her. His opponent was a scaled warrior, taller and stronger, with arms that looked like steel. The match began, and Ethan quickly found himself on the ground, breathless. Laughter rose from the crowd. "Pathetic human," someone jeered. But Ethan forced himself up again. His body screamed in pain, but his pride was stronger. He remembered her smile. He remembered her blush. He wanted her to see that he was not weak. The fight went on. He dodged instead of blocking. He used speed instead of strength. Finally, with one desperate move, he flipped his opponent onto the ground. The arena erupted in shock. For the first time, the human had won. Ethan lifted his head and looked toward the stands. Princess Arya's lips curved ever so slightly into another smile. It was faint, almost hidden, but he saw it, and in that moment, all his pain was worth it. Later that evening, Ethan sat alone in the garden again, his body aching from the fight. The glowing flowers swayed in the night breeze, filling the air with soft light. He closed his eyes, just trying to rest. Then a voice came, soft and careful. You should not push yourself so hard." His eyes snapped open. Princess Arya stood there, alone, her silver hair flowing in the dim light. She had left her guard behind. She looked both nervous and curious, as if she should not be here. Ethan tried to stand quickly, but pain shot through his legs. He winced. She lifted a delicate hand, stopping him. "Do not move," she said quietly. Her voice was soft, melodic, but carried the tone of someone who was used to giving commands. Still, tonight, there was something different in her eyes. Something warmer. Ethan forced a smile. "I didn't want to look weak in front of you." Her cheeks turned pink again. She glanced away, hiding it, but not fast enough. Ethan saw it, and it gave him courage. "You," she whispered, almost to herself, "you are strange for a human." "Strange good." Ethan asked carefully. Her violet eyes returned to him. They shimmered in the night like jewels. "Strange, dangerous," she said. Ethan frowned. "Dangerous." She stepped closer, her gown brushing against the glowing flowers. "You do not fear me. Everyone else bows. Everyone else trembles. But you look at me as if I am just a girl. Because you are," Ethan said softly, "a very beautiful one." Her blush deepened. For a moment, her royal mask cracked. She looked young, almost fragile, standing there in the moonlit garden. But then her eyes turned serious again. "You should not speak to me like this," she said. "If my guards here, if my people know, you could be punished." Ethan chuckled quietly, though his heart raced. "Then I guess I'm already in trouble." For the first time, Princess Arya laughed. It was small, soft, and quick, but it was real. Ethan felt as if the entire galaxy had gone silent just to hear that sound. But her smile faded as quickly as it came. She glanced around the garden, her posture straightening again. "We should not be seen together. Not like this. Not yet." Then, without another word, she turned and disappeared into the shadows of the academy. Ethan was left staring after her, his heart pounding. He knew now that something had begun between them. Something fragile, secret, and dangerous. And though he did not yet understand the risks, he felt one thing clearly. He would never stop calling her Cutie. The academy never stayed quiet for long. By now, almost every student had heard the story. The human boy who made the alien princess blush. Some treated it like a joke, others like a scandal. In every cafeteria corner and every training hall, the whispers grew louder. But whispers are dangerous. Ethan felt them follow him wherever he went. Some students smirked when he passed by. Others glared, their eyes filled with jealousy. Not everyone liked the idea of a human drawing the attention of a Lemurian princess. To them, it was an insult. One evening, as Ethan left the combat arena after another round of training, a group of alien cadets blocked his path. They were tall, strong, with glowing tattoos carved into their skin. Their leader, a broad-shouldered warrior with scales that glittered like steel, stepped forward. "You think you are a clever human?" he growled. "You shame us all when you speak to her." Ethan stayed calm, though his heart raced. "I didn't shame anyone. I just spoke to her." The warrior's eyes narrowed. "She belongs to her empire. She is not for you." A fist shoved Ethan hard against the wall. Pain shot through his shoulder, but he refused to lower his eyes. He stood tall, even when the others laughed. "If you value your life human," the warrior hissed, "stay away from the princess." They left him there, bruised but standing. Ethan touched his shoulder, breathing heavily. He knew the warning was real, but he also knew something else. He could not walk away now. Not after the smile, not after the laughter, not after the way her eyes softened whenever she looked at him. That night, he returned to the gardens, hoping for a moment of peace. The glowing flowers swayed in the breeze, their light soft against the darkness. He sat near the fountain, his body aching, but his mind restless. And then she came. Princess Arya stepped into the garden quietly, her silver hair glimmering under the moon's light. She paused when she saw him, her violet eyes scanning his face. "You're hurt," she said softly. "It's nothing," Ethan replied quickly, hiding the pain in his voice. But she did not believe him. She moved closer, kneeling beside him. Her delicate hand reached toward his shoulder. For a second, Ethan froze. He could feel the warmth of her touch even through the fabric of his uniform. "They warned you," she whispered. "Didn't they?" Ethan met her eyes. "Yes, but I'm not afraid." Her lips parted, her expression caught between worry and something else, something softer. "You should be afraid. If this continues, it could be more than just whispers. My people, my empire, they will not forgive." Ethan smiled faintly, then let them be angry. "I'm not talking to a princess. I'm talking to a girl who smiles when I call her cutie." Her cheeks turned pink again. She tried to look away, but the blush betrayed her. For a moment, she looked almost shy, so different from the proud royal figure the galaxy knew. "You are reckless," she said, shaking her head. "Maybe," Ethan said with a grin, "but it makes you smile." And she did smile, even if just for a second. For the next few days, they began to meet in secret. Not long conversations, not bold moments, just small stolen minutes in the garden. Quiet exchanges in halls, a glance that lasted longer than it should. To others, it looked like nothing, but to them, it was everything. Ethan learned that Arya loved the gardens because they reminded her of home. On her planet, flowers glowed brighter, filling the night with color. She missed the sound of rivers, the songs of her people, the feeling of open skies. Here at the academy, she was always watched, always guarded, always perfect. "With you," she whispered once, "I feel like I can breathe." And Ethan, hearing those words, felt something stir inside him that he could not name. But their secret bond did not stay safe for long. One afternoon, while Ethan and Arya walked to the garden path, a shadow moved nearby. A student was watching them. His eyes narrowed, his lips curling in a smile that was anything but kind. By evening, the whispers had returned, but sharper now, more dangerous. They meet in secret. She breaks the rules. The human tempts her. Ethan felt the tension everywhere. Guard began to follow Arya more closely. Teachers looked at him with suspicion. The air was heavier, filled with warning. And then came the summons. Late one night, Ethan was ordered to appear before the Academy's council. The message was short, but the meaning was clear. Someone had spoken, and the leaders wanted answers. As he walked through the silver halls toward the council chamber, his mind raced. Was this the end? Had he gone too far? Would he be expelled, or worse? When the doors opened, he saw them, figures from different worlds, sitting around a great circular table. Their eyes glowed in the dim light, heavy with judgment. At the center stood Princess Arya, her gaze locked with his. She looked calm, royal, untouchable again. But in her violet eyes, hidden deep where no one else could see, there was something else. Something that told Ethan this was only the beginning. The starship Aurora Flame continued its slow journey across the dark sea of space. Inside, tension mixed with curiosity. The human crew was still whispering about the strange moment when the alien princess blushed after hearing two little words. Nobody had expected it. Nobody knew what it really meant. But everyone felt it was important. Ethan sat in his quarters, thinking about that moment. He had spoken without planning. He only said "Hello Cutie" as a joke to make the serious atmosphere lighter. But the princess's reaction was not a joke. Her face turned red, her eyes looked away, and her lips trembled like she was hiding something. It was not just shyness. It was something deeper. The door slid open. His friend Mira walked in. Mira was one of the best pilots on the ship, and also one of the few who dared to speak honestly to Ethan. "You're in trouble," she said, folding her arms. "Trouble? What do you mean?" Ethan asked. "You don't know what you've done, do you? That princess, her kind doesn't blush. They are trained from childhood to never show weakness. For her to turn red like that means you touched something hidden in her heart." Ethan frowned. "So I embarrass her?" "No," Mira said quietly. "You unlock something. And if her guards find out, they will never let you near her again. Maybe worse." At that same time, in the grand chamber given to her, the alien princess sat alone. Her name was Celera, though most humans still called her only the princess. She looked at her reflection in the tall silver mirror. She touched her own cheek as if remembering the warmth of the blush. She whispered softly in her own language, words no human could understand. Why did his voice make me feel alive? Solara's people, the Orlith, had strict traditions. They believed emotion was dangerous. They were taught to keep their hearts locked. Love was almost forbidden, seen as weakness. But Solara had always wondered if there was more to life than endless duty. When the human called her Cutie, it was the first time she felt like more than just a princess. For the first time, she felt like a woman. Her guard, a tall alien named Varen, entered suddenly. His glowing eyes narrowed. "Princess, you must not let the humans see you like this again. Blushing is shameful. It will ruin your honor." Solara turned her face away. Perhaps honor is not everything. Varen's eyes widened. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Do not forget who you are. If the council learns you allowed a human to stir your heart, they will separate you from him forever, and they may punish him severely." Solara's chest tightened. For the first time, she realized Ethan might be in danger, not just her reputation. She whispered, "Leave me." Varen obeyed, but suspicion burned in his eyes. Later that night, the ship's halls were quiet. Ethan walked alone, restless. He found himself outside the princess's chamber. 2 alien guards stood there like statues, but then something surprising happened. The door opened a crack, and a soft voice called, "Ethan, come." The guards glared, but Solara herself stepped into the doorway, her long silver gown flowing like moonlight. "It is my order," she told her guards. They could not disobey. Ethan followed her inside, his heart racing. The chamber was beautiful, filled with glowing crystals and alien plants. Solara stood near the window, staring at the stars. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence was heavy, filled with tension. Finally, Ethan said softly, "I didn't mean to upset you." Solara turned, her eyes shining with both fear and longing. "You did not upset me. You woke something inside me. Something I was told must stay asleep forever." Ethan took a careful step closer. "And is that a bad thing?" Her lips trembled. "It is forbidden." "Sometimes," Ethan said gently. "The forbidden things are the ones that matter most." Her breath caught. For a second, she almost reached for his hand, but she pulled back quickly. "If they see us, you will be in danger." Ethan smiled a little, his voice calm but firm. "Maybe it's worth the danger." Solara's heart raced. For the first time in her life, she felt truly seen. Not as a princess, not as a symbol, but as herself. She whispered, almost to herself, "Human, why do you risk everything with just words?" Ethan replied, "Because sometimes words can change everything." Before either of them could say more, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed outside the door. The guard were shouting, and a deep alarm rang through the ship. Solara's eyes widened with fear. "They are coming for you." Ethan looked at her, steady and unafraid. "Then tell me, Princess, do you want me to leave, or do you want to stay?" Her answer caught in her throat. For the first time, she had to choose between her duty and her heart, and the ship trembled as danger closed in. The alarm echoed to the aurora flame like thunder. Red lights flashed across the halls. Ethan froze inside the princess's chamber, while Solara's eyes filled with fear. The sound of boots grew louder as alien guards rushed toward the room. "They know you are here," Solara whispered, her voice shaking. "If they catch you, they will not ask questions. They will drag you away." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then I'll fight my way out." "No!" she said quickly, her hand grabbing his wrist before she realized what she was doing. The touch sent a shock through both of them. For the first time, her skin touched his, soft and warm. Her silver eyes widened, as if she couldn't believe what she had just done. She pulled her hand back, trembling. "Please do not fight. You cannot win against all of them." The door burst open. Varen, the tall alien guard, stepped inside with 4 soldiers. His glowing eyes burned with anger. "Human," he shouted, "you dare break into the royal chamber?" "I didn't break in," Ethan said firmly. "She asked me here." Varen turned sharply toward the princess. "Is that true, Celera?" The chamber went silent. Celera looked at Ethan, then at Varen, then back again. Her heart pounded. Every choice was dangerous. If she lied, Ethan would be punished. If she told the truth, her own people might question her loyalty. Finally, she lifted her chin. "Yes, I asked him to come." The guards muttered in shock. Varen's face twisted with disbelief. "Princess, you endanger us all with this weakness. The council must hear of this." Without another word, the soldiers seized Ethan by the arms. He struggled, but Celera cried out, "Stop! You will not harm him." Her voice carried a weight none could ignore. The guards froze, but Varen's voice was cold. "He will not be harmed, for now, but the council will decide his fate." They dragged Ethan away, leaving Celera standing alone, her chest heavy with guilt and fear. The next day, Ethan stood in a grand chamber filled with alien leaders. The Council of Orlith sat in tall silver chairs, their robes shining with crystal patterns. Their faces were calm, but their glowing eyes cut like knives. Celera sat beside them, her head bowed. The eldest counselor, a woman with hair like liquid gold, spoke first. "Human, you have broken sacred law. You entered the princess's chamber without permission. This is a crime against our honor." Ethan spoke clearly, his voice steady. "I didn't enter without permission. She wanted me there." Gasps filled the chamber. The counselors looked at Celera. She did not deny it. Instead, she whispered, "It is true." The counselors murmured among themselves. Finally, the eldest spoke again. "Princess, do you understand the meaning of what you have done? The blood of Orlith royalty must remain pure. To show weakness before an outsider is unforgivable. Your blush, your invitation, your feelings, they are a danger." Celera lifted her head slowly, her silver eyes fierce with emotion. "Perhaps your rules are the danger. You have locked our hearts away for centuries. But I felt something real. For the first time, I felt alive. Is that truly a crime?" The chamber shook with outrage. One counselor slammed his fist on the table. "Blasphemy! You speak like a traitor." Varen stepped forward. "The human has poisoned her thoughts. He must be punished." The eldest counselor raised her hand, silencing the noise. Her eyes fixed on Ethan. "You will face a trial. If you fail, you will die. If you succeed, you will leave our princess forever." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "And what if I refuse?" "Then you die without trial," the counselor answered coldly. Ethan looked at Celera. She was trembling. Her lips parted as if she wanted to speak, but fear held her back. He gave her a small, steady smile, the same smile that first made her heart race. "I'll take the trial," Ethan said firmly. The council chamber filled with whispers again. The trial was no simple test. It was known across the stars as the Path of Fire, a challenge that had destroyed many before him. Celera's voice finally broke through. "No, he cannot survive the Path of Fire. It is too cruel." The eldest counselor turned to her. "Then you should not have broken the law. Princess, the choice has been made." Guards led Ethan away. Celera's heart ached as she watched him disappear beyond the silver doors. For the first time in her life, she felt helpless. Her people demanded loyalty, but her heart demanded something else. That night, she stood by the window of her chamber, staring at the stars. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She whispered softly, "Ethan, I don't want to lose you." But far away in the training halls, Ethan prepared for the trial. His muscles burned, his breath came heavy, but his spirit refused to break. He thought of her blush, her touch, her eyes, and he swore to himself, "No council, no trial, no alien law will keep me away from her." The next morning, the starship Aurora Flame echoed with whispers. Everyone had heard the news. The human would face the Path of Fire. Some thought it was foolish. Some thought it was brave. But nobody believed he could survive. Ethan stood in a vast training hall carved from glowing silver stone. The walls pulsed faintly, alive with alien energy. Strange weapons hung in racks, and the floor was marked with old scars from past battles. In front of him stood the council, their glowing eyes cold and watchful. The eldest counselor raised her hand. Human, this is your trial. You will walk the path of fire. 3 challenges await. If you survive, you will be set free. If you fail, your life ends here. Ethan's voice was calm but firm. I'm ready. From the side, Celera watched, her hands clenched so tight her knuckles turned white. Her heart screamed to stop this madness, but her people's eyes were everywhere. She could not save him openly. Not yet. The first trial, the flames. The floor shifted with a thunderous crack. Suddenly, walls of blue fire burst up around Ethan, forming a circle. The heat was intense, but the fire did not burn like normal flames. Instead, it reached for his mind, filling his head with visions meant to break him. He saw his worst fears. Himself lie in ashes, Celera looking away in disgust, Mira turn her back and saying, You were never strong enough. Ethan fell to one knee, sweat dripping down his face. His heart pounded. The voices whispered in his head, louder and louder. You are weak. You are nothing. She will never love you. But then he remembered that moment, the way Celera blushed when he called her cutie. That memory burned brighter than the fire. He forced himself to his feet. No, he said aloud, his voice steady. I won't believe your lies. She saw me. She felt it too. The flames flickered, then died. The first trial was complete. The second trial, the beast. The floor cracked again, and from the shadows rose a creature unlike any Ethan had ever seen. It was massive, with armored skin and glowing red eyes. Its claws scraped the floor, sparks flying. The alien council called it a Karath, a beast bred for one purpose, to kill challengers. Celera gasped. No, that thing will tear him apart. Varen, standing behind her, whispered coldly, That is the point. The beast roared, shaking the hall. Ethan grabbed a spear from the wall, just in time as the monster charged. He rolled to the side, the ground trembling with each step. The spear fell heavy in his hands, but he held it tight. The fight was brutal. The beast's claws slashed across his arm, leaving a burning cut. Blood ran down, but Ethan refused to fall. He struck again and again, each hit bouncing off the creature's armor. Celera's heart raced. She wanted to scream, to help, but her people would see it as betrayal. Still, she whispered under her breath, You can do it, Ethan. Please survive. The beast roared again, its jaws snapping inches from his face. Ethan's muscles screamed with pain, but his eyes were steady. He remembered Myra's words. You touched something hidden in her heart. That gave him strength. At the last second, he shoved the spear deep into the beast's throat, where its armor was weakest. With a final cry, the monster collapsed. The hall shook as it hit the ground. The second trial was over. The third trial, the choice. The hall grew silent. The council whispered among themselves. Finally, the eldest counselor stood. You have survived the fire and the beast. But the last trial is not strength. It is choice. From the shadows, 2 guards dragged someone forward. Ethan's eyes widened. It was Mira, his friend, her hands bound. Mira, he shouted. The counselor's voice was sharp. One of you will live. One will die. Choose. The human woman who has fought beside you or the princess, who tempts you toward forbidden love. The doors opened again, and Celera was pushed forward, her wrists bound with glowing chains. She looked at Ethan, her eyes filled with fear and sorrow. Ethan's heart pounded. They wanted to break him. They wanted to make him choose between loyalty and love. Mira shouted, Don't you dare choose me, Ethan. You know what's in your heart. Celera shook her head, tears filling her eyes. No, save her. She is your friend. She means more than I do. Ethan's chest burned with pain. He looked at Mira, then at Celera. His whole life seemed to hang on this moment. The counselor leaned forward, her eyes glowing. Choose now, human, or we will kill them both. Ethan raised his head slowly, his voice steady, filled with fire. No, I will not choose. You don't control me, and you don't control my heart. The chamber shook with outrage. The counselors rose from their seats. Varen shouted, Blasphemy! Guards rushed forward. Solara's chains glowed brighter, but her eyes widened with sudden hope. Ethan had done the impossible. He had defied their greatest trial, and in that moment, the fire of rebellion began to spark in her own heart. The grand chamber shook with chaos. Ethan stood tall in the center, bloodied and tired, but his voice still rang like steel. I will not choose. My heart is my own. You cannot control it. The alien council rose from their seats, outrage burning in their glowing eyes. The eldest counselor pointed at him. Then you are nothing but a danger. Guards, execute him. The soldiers rushed forward, their weapons drawn. Ethan clenched his fists, ready to fight even if it was hopeless. His body screamed with pain, but his spirit refused to bend. Stop. The word rang out across the hall. Everyone froze. Celera, the princess, stepped forward, her silver gown glowing under the chamber's lights. Her wrists still bound by chains, but her eyes burned with fire no one had ever seen before. You cannot kill him, she said, her voice clear and steady. If you kill him, you will kill me too, because I choose him. Gasps filled the chamber. The counselors whispered in shock. Varen's face twisted with fury. Princess, think about what you are saying. Your words are treason. Celera lifted her chin proudly. Then let it be treason. For too long, you have told us love is weakness, but I have learned the truth. Love is strength. And this human, this man you wish to destroy, he showed me who I really am. I will not deny my heart. The chains on her wrists glowed brighter, as if resisting her words, but suddenly they cracked and shattered into pieces. The counselors gasped. Solara's power, long hidden, awakened with her choice. A radiant aura of silver light surrounded her, filling the chamber with warmth. The guards stepped back, shielding their eyes. Even the counselors trembled at the sight. Celera ran to Ethan, standing by his side. She took his hand in front of everyone. The warmth of her touch erased his pain. For a moment, it felt like only the two of them existed. I told you to leave, she whispered softly. And I told you, Ethan said, smiling faintly. Sometimes the forbidden things are the ones that matter most. Her cheeks flushed again, that same beautiful blush that had started everything. But Varen was not finished. His voice roared across the hall. No, this cannot be allowed. He drew his blade, its edge glowing with deadly energy, and charged at Ethan. Celera stepped forward, her silver aura flaring like fire. The blade struck her shield of light, shattering into sparks. Varen was thrown back across the hall, crashing into the wall. The counselors stared in silence. None dared move. The eldest finally spoke, her voice trembling. Princess, you have broken every law. What will you do now? Celera looked at them, her hand still holding Ethan's. Her voice was firm. I will write new laws. I will lead our people into a new age, an age where love is not forbidden. Ethan squeezed her hand, pride shining in his eyes. The counselors knew they had lost. The people watching in the chamber whispered among themselves. Many of them looked not with anger, but with hope. A spark had been lit. That night, Ethan and Celera stood together by the starship's great window, staring out at the endless galaxy. The stars stretched like rivers of light, infinite and alive. Celera leaned against him, her silver hair brushing his shoulder. When you first called me cutie, I thought you were foolish. Ethan chuckled. I probably was. But that foolish word, she said softly, her cheeks turning pink again. It changed everything. It gave me a heart I didn't know I had. Ethan turned to her, his eyes steady. And you gave me something too. A reason to fight. A reason to live. They stood in silence for a moment, their hands intertwined. The galaxy outside seemed smaller compared to the fire between them. Finally, Celera whispered, So tell me again, human, the word that started it all. Ethan leaned close, his lips near her ear. He whispered, Hello, cutie. Celera blushed deeply, brighter than ever before, and for the first time in history, a princess of the Orlith laughed freely, a sound so beautiful it echoed through the stars.